Good morning, guys, and welcome to day 3 of Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. We're going to be starting in with our reading again today. Though, by looking at our do now and ask what's an injustice you see in our world that you want to work to get rid of. So remember, an injustice is something that you think is unfair or unjust, and what's something you think you can do to change that. Go ahead and pause the video, take about 1 minute to write that, and then let's continue on to our learning target. Our learning target today says I can use a character's traits to infer why they act a certain way. Remember, anytime we look at that why, we're looking for a reason. So looking at the reason they're acting the way that they are, and specifically looking at their traits, or we would use this as like a description of that person. So what kind of person are they, and how would we describe them? And based on that, why, or what's the reason they behave the way that they do. As you're reading today, I want you to look forward to be looking for the character traits and inferring why the characters are acting a certain way. Specifically today, I want you to be looking at Little Man. So as you're annotating, think about what do we know and what do we learn about Little Man, and how does that impact the reason he acts the way that he does. At this time, pause the video, silently and independently read pages 15 to 27 with that look for in mind. This might take you a little bit, and that's okay. We are also going to be looking for our first literal question. How would you describe the Great Faith Elementary and Secondary School? So be on the lookout for those descriptions and annotate that as well. Hint, that's going to be right at the start of our reading on page 15. We'll pick up there once you're done reading. At this time, go ahead and pause the video, silently read and annotate all those pages. All right, team, welcome back. Now you've read up through page 27. Let's take a look at our first question for today, our literal question. It says, how would you describe, so we're looking for descriptions for the Great Faith Elementary and Secondary School. So let's take a look then at page 15 where the school is introduced. So on this page, you'll see I've underlined a few details that I noticed. So it says the Great Faith Elementary and Secondary School, one of the largest black schools in the country, and I annotated that because it's one of the largest black schools in the county, was a dismal end to an hour's journey. Think to yourself, would something that's dismal be positive or negative? And think about how this school is being described. Consisting of 4 weather-beaten wooden houses on stilts of brick. So if something's weather-beaten, again, think, is that going to be a positive or a negative description? 320 students, 7 teachers, a principal, a caretaker, the caretaker's cow, which kept the wide crabgrass lawn sufficiently clipped in spring and summer. The school is located near 3 plantations. I'm just kind of picturing in the back of my head having a cow wandering around Kaufman, taking care of all the grass for us. That'd be kind of an interesting solution for that. So let's think, 320 students, 7 teachers, a principal, a caretaker. So we've got 329 people in 4 houses. That's a lot of people and not a lot of space. So I want you to think about how then would you describe it? Think, is this kind of a positive or negative? Is this a place you'd want to go to school? Why or why not? Go ahead and pause the video based off that description and those details we noticed on page 15, and update your answer to the literal question. All right, team, welcome back. Let's take a look at our CTQ number 1. As we're looking at this, we need to go ahead and start by annotating. So we've got why. So remember, that means our reason or motivation. Does little man's face cloud over when he opens the book? Let's see, we've got that his face is clouding over. Do you think his face really gets clouds on it? No. So this is going to be some figurative language for us. So I want you to think about, because we've got that figurative language of his face clouding over, what emotion is he probably feeling if that's happening? And it says when he opens his book. So we need to think about what page we need to go to. So go ahead and open your book. See if you can find it without me showing you. Take a minute, pause the video if you need to, and see where does that happen in the story. Where does he open his book? And we should see that phrase that his face clouds over. All right, so by now, team, you should be on page 17 looking for these moments. So it says We've got, he's kind of getting ferocious. We're learning a little bit more about what's going on. Learning about some of his friends. Getting over to page 18, continuing to learn a little bit more about that. And then as we get to it on page 21, we then see that there was a startling announcement. This year we would all have books. And it says everyone gasped, for most of the students had never handled a book at all. I admit I was somewhat excited. So at this point, think silently, is it positive or negative? Go ahead and write down at this point, how do they feel about these books? Is it positive or negative? And then the teacher says we were very fortunate. Remember, fortunate means that they were lucky to get these readers or these workbooks. And then they all promised to take good care of it. So again, we're kind of staying really positive or negative here. Which one? Go ahead and annotate that. Then we're going to continue on. My anticipation at having my own book ebbed to a sinking disappointment. So now is it positive or negative? Oh, positive, apparently. Positive or negative. But she continued to beam. So the teacher is feeling what? Positive or negative, while Cassie is feeling what? So think about those two things as you're working on this. Then we've got the first graders were looking. And then, oh, here we go. We're starting to see some information about Little Man again on page 22. So it says his face lit in eager excitement. So right now, think to yourself, for Little Man, LM, Little Man, is it positive or negative for him? And it says, I did not like to think of his disappointment. So Cassie thinks he'll be disappointed. So remember that I is going to be Cassie. And then it keeps going, keeps going. Oh, what's that? You said Clayton Chester Logan. That's going to be Little Man's full name. So when we're seeing that Clayton Chester Logan, that's a big name. So they'll just call him Little Man as his family nickname. Okay. So let's see where we're going with this. And then over here, we're starting to see a little bit of a change here. His lips parted, he quivered. Think about for Little Man, right now, is it positive or negative, how he's feeling? And he says, that one's dirty. We do already know that he really does like to stay clean. We learned that when he was talking about his Sunday best clothes. So then, appalled by such temerity, so that's like somebody like stepping out of bounds or like doing too much almost. Dirty? Who do you think you are? The county gave us this wonderful books. And he says, now you take this book or get nothing at all. You make a prediction based off what we know. What do you think it'll be here? And then we've got on page 24 some more moments where this is happening to him. Go ahead and continue annotating. What do you see on those pages? He's told to pick it up, but he doesn't. Think about where do we see these? It says, what's happening when he's looking at this book? And then it says Cassie opens the book and takes a look. And then what do you see happening in this chart? What's happened by the time it gets to a very poor condition? What's the change? What does he see that probably makes him a little upset or angry? So based on that, why do you think Little Man's face clouds over when he opens his book? Think about what does it mean that his face is clouding over, and what is happening to cause this? What's wrong with this book? Why would it make his face cloud over? Make sure you're including, since it is figurative language, what emotion is he feeling at this time? Go ahead and pause the video, update your answer. All right, team, great job with that. We're gonna take a look at our final question for today. It says, why does Mo Turner have to travel 3.5 hours to get to school? Now, when we're thinking about this question, I want you to be thinking Who is Mo Turner? Because this is a new character we really haven't talked much about. So let's first go through and find out who is this. But then we also need to figure out that why. So the character motivation, what's the reason he has to travel 3.5 hours to get to school? That's a long time. And if I had to travel 3.5 hours to get to school, that'd be basically the equivalent of having to, at this point in time, like drive all the way to Wichita or drive all the way to like Branson or St. Louis every single day to go to school. So let's take a look then and see what we can find. So this is happening on what page? See if you can find it even before me. See if you can beat me. Turning the pages now. You should, if you were already looking, be then on page 17, because that's where it says remember I is Cassie, spied Mo Turner. So let's see what's happening here. It says she wonders at his energy. Gives us a little bit more information about Mo. It says Mo was one of Stacy's, so Cassie's brother's friends. Tells us where he lived on the Montier plantation, a 3.5-hour walk from school. Whoa. He's not driving to St. Louis like we would be. He's walking 3.5 hours. So that would be like, I don't even know. I went on an hour-long walk today, and that was quite a bit. I can't imagine doing 3.5 times that to get to work every single day. All right, so then it says, because of the distance, many children from the Montier plantation did not come to Great Faith after they'd finished the 4-year school near Smellings Creek. So that's like, there's a closer building that has grades 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe for 5th grade, they'd have to go to this further away school. So think about, why does he have to travel 3.5 hours to get there? First, I want you to think about, how does he get to school? Is it the same way you get to school? Is it different? Where do we see text evidence that shows us how he gets to school? Yep, you got it right here. A 3.5-hour walk. So every single day he's walking to and from school. So he's walking 3.5 hours to school, walking 3.5 hours home. Why do you think he has to walk? Now on this page, it doesn't actually tell us why. So that means we have to actually go back based on what we've already learned in this section. And this is actually going to take us all the way back to pages 8 and 9 to remind ourselves why he has to walk. We learned something on these pages. So I want you to think about what's going on pages 8 and 9 that's happening here. So this is when the boys and Cassie are walking to school. Why are they walking to school, and what's kind of the problem on these pages? As they're doing this, we started to see then the bus came by. But what's the problem with this bus? What did we learn on these pages? So little man's upset about getting his clothes dirty, so we did learn that. But then on page 13, when he's making fun of him, little man says, how come they didn't stop for us? Look at Stacy's answer and how little man responds. What do you notice there? Who gets to ride the bus and who doesn't? I want you to think about what this tells us about the conditions. And I want you to think about then, why does Mo Turner have to walk 3.5 hours to get to school? Why can't he go to a closer school? Why does he have to walk? Think about those two things and update your answer. If you have any questions at all about this day, please reach out or comment below. Thanks, guys. Have fun.